welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Shireen and today we're going to be speaking about scalp health, continuing our scalp health series. If you see me having a look down, I'm just taking a look at my notes, but I'm so excited to get into this video. If you've ever looked down in the shower and you've seen like clumps of hair and you've had this surge of panic come across you, then this is the video for you. First and foremost, I need you to know that you are not alone. A lot of us have been through different experiences where we've had some shedding or some hair loss. And what this video is going to do is to help you understand and distinguish the difference between hair loss and shedding. First off, do you like my top? I got this from Shein and I just think it is so cute. Love it. It's really making me want to get braids. Braid gang. There's definitely a hyper focus on hair health and scalp health online, and I think sometimes many of us kind of play into that hyper focused attention to the hair and the scalp, and we kind of stress about every strand that leaves our head. But the truth is there's a massive difference, a huge difference between hair loss and shedding. And one fantastic thing is that one of them is your hair doing exactly what it's engineered to do, and the other just means that your foundation needs a little bit more focus, a little bit more attention. So what is the actual science behind it all? And as you guys know, I'm obsessed with the science, so I'm going to be educating you in this video. I also want to do like a quick check so that you guys know how to do a quick check at home. And in addition to that, as you guys know, I'm all about helping us to reclaim our sense of identity, our self-worth, uplifting each other. And I am going to be helping you figure out how to reclaim your peace in this, and also give you a boost of confidence with some affirmations as well that you can use whilst you're creating a loving relationship with your natural hair, which I hope you enjoy. Anyway, let's get straight into the video. First off, I wanted us to think about how our hair naturally grows, what it's supposed to be doing, what we should be looking out for, and basically understand the principles and the blueprint of what our natural hair does. So I always like to think of our scalp as being like the soil and our actual hair strands as being the grass or a plant. So we want to really nurture the scalp as much as we possibly can. For a plant to grow, the soil needs to be healthy. And a natural part of that process is from time to time, a plant might have flowers, and the flowers might need to shed from time to time during the winter months, for example, and then you have this beautiful regrowth coming back in the spring. And that's exactly what our hair does as well. So our hair naturally sheds, just like you would experience leaves falling from a tree in autumn is exactly what you would experience with your hair as well. And the only way for new hair to come through is for the old hair to leave our bodies. Did you see what I did there? Biologically, we lose between 50 to 100 strands of hair per day. 50 to 100 strands per day. Every time I think of it, like, that is astronomical. That is a lot of hair strands, okay? And this is a completely normal process. This is what our body is doing for us on our behalf. It's supposed to do that. So anytime you're experiencing a lot of shedding, or if you've had your hair in braids or cornrows for some time and then you're taking your hair out and you're seeing all this shedding, without knowing that fact of 50 to 100 strands a day, you can obviously automatically go into panic mode. Your hair goes through three main phases. The first is the growth phase, which is what we obviously want our hair to stay in for as long as possible, especially if you're talking about trying to retain length. The second is the resting phase, and then the final phase is the shedding phase. So all three of these phases have their own time scales, and they are doing what they need to do within that phase. As a reminder, the hair must fall out so that new structurally sound hair strands can take their place. There is also a very fascinating delay that causes us to go into panic mode, and this is something called telogen effluvium. Telogen effluvium is something we experience when we've gone through a high amount of stress or pressure or anxiety or anything really that makes you kind of go into survival mode, disrupts your nervous system, and triggers hair loss. This can be anything. It could be something medical, whether you're on medication or you've gone through surgery, something traumatic to the body. It can be even you've gone through birth, you've given birth to a child, for example. It can be dietary as well. Maybe you've stopped taking as much iron, like maybe you've gone from being a person who eats meat to now you're vegetarian. It can be so many different things that can trigger telogen effluvium, but the important part to highlight is you don't experience the hair loss until around 3 months after. So if you're experiencing this hair loss at home and you're completely oblivious to anything that's happened right here, right now, you're not going to necessarily be thinking about surgery that you had 3 months prior to this hair loss that you're experiencing. Your body reacts by prematurely pushing some hair follicles into the next phase in order to push new hair strands through, which is the shedding phase. And again, but because of how our body works, we don't actually see that hair loss until 3 months later. So if you are noticing a huge change, maybe you're experiencing thinning of your hair, if it's in a bubble, for example, and sometimes the hair loss can be very visual. Like when I lost my own hair, a band of hair around my front was all gone. If I can find some pictures, I'm going to add it in the video here. But yeah, my hair loss after having my son, I would say we was in 4-month zone. So 3 to 6 months after you've had a child, you can experience some hair loss when you're within that time period. And it was so stressful. I remember just having cornrows. The cornrows were fine. It went in fine. There's me thinking, you know, I'm going to tuck my hair away, have a protective style whilst I'm catering for this new baby. And I just noticed that when I took it out, I had all of my hair come out at the same time, which really took a hit on how I perceived myself in the mirror, and it can be very like jaw-dropping. So how do you actually tell the difference between the two? How do you tell the difference between hair loss that's normal and something that you're experiencing that might be shedding? Let's do a quick, simple self-check. The next time your hair is dry and detangled, try the pull test. So what we'd like you to do is get a small section of your hair, and all we want to do is run our fingers and kind of give your hair a little bit of a pull. If you only have about 3 hairs come out, then we aren't going to panic. But if you're actually having clumps of hair come out at this time, then this is something that we want to pay attention to. So I would say 5 or more hair strands every single time you pass your hands through a different section of your hair. And this is an exercise you want to do around the head as well. So you want to take small sections and pull and see what kind of shedding you get. If it is anything more than 5 hair strands, then you might be experiencing an active shedding phase. The next thing I want you to do is to look quite closely at the hair strand itself, and we want to really pay attention to what it looks like. What we're looking out for is the bulb. If the hair has a tiny clearish kind of white bulb on the end of it, that's a good sign. So we don't want to panic about that. That means our hair has naturally shed, and that's a hair strand that has completed its life cycle. That means it's grown to its maximum length that it can grow to, and it's now left your head. It has shed naturally from the root. However, if there's no bulb, what we're going to be looking out for is breakage. If the strands look snapped or shorter, then that isn't necessarily hair loss from the scalp. This is a sign that the structure of your hair strands are compromised, so we might need to look at strengthening those hair strands altogether. Breakage is actually a key sign of dehydration. So if we are noticing that there's a lot of snapping, broken ends, short strands, then that is a sign that the hair is dehydrated and we need to get some moisture in those hair strands. Before we talk about the styling impact, I really wanted to take a moment to just talk about the impact on our anxiety. The sheer anxiety of observing and watching your hair change can have a real impact on your well-being. I know, because I've been there many times. It's completely normal to feel vulnerable or even worried when you see more hair shedding than usual, especially if you're someone that is like quite active in your hair. You're going to obviously observe a lot of these changes quite easily. For many of us, our hair is our identity. It's how we show up in the world. It's our culture. It's what we represent as being Black women. But if you're stressed out, I want you to take a deep breath with me right now, because what we're doing is actually continuing that stress cycle. If you're stressed out about your hair because you've experienced some hair loss, sometimes the stress can also impact on us experiencing hair loss and actually continues that loop, because stress and what we spoke about with telogen effluvium is stress on the body. You're continuously staying in this loop of hair loss and shedding, and your scalp not being able to produce hair strands that are gonna replace the ones that we've lost that are coming back stronger. Our bodies release hormones like cortisol, and the higher your cortisol, the more stressed out you are and the more likely you are to have some hair loss. So we have to break that anxiety loop. Okay, I've got 3 tips for you on how to combat hair anxiety. Very first thing is stay away from the macro mirror. We don't necessarily need to be staring at all of the issues that we can see with our hair and our scalp. We don't need to be staring at the parting, the hair loss. All of that just increases the anxiety that we have about our hair. It's not going to make it better. Tip number 2 is going to be once per week. So we're going to stop checking for hair loss in the shower every single time we're having a wash day once per week. We don't need to check it every week. I would say every 2 weeks. We want to be monitoring how much hair is coming out every 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on what your wash routine is. Like me, I wash my hair twice a week. So for me, taking that to twice every like month is better, because I'm not going to be stressing out. And again, that kind of reduces my anxiety, and it might reduce your anxiety as well about how much hair you can see. Tip number 3 is to focus on what you can control. We can't force our hair strands to stop falling out, but what we can do is control the way we're perceiving the hair loss. We can control what we know about the hair loss and educate ourselves around what we're experiencing, and make small changes depending on what it is you're experiencing in your day-to-day, in your routine. And if you are stressed out right now, what you can cut out and what you can, change. And probably the most important thing is perception, how we think other people are perceiving us. This is so important, because this obviously impacts everything else in our day-to-day. And it's not easy observing hair loss and figuring out what's happening. Worry that people are going to judge us. We worry that people are going to label us. I want to give you a liberating truth today. People are rarely looking at you as closely as sometimes we think that they are. People are they're more concerned with themselves, and everyone has their own stresses. People are wrapped up in their own lives. Your hair is a beautiful part of your story, but it's not the only thing that defines who you are. It doesn't define your worth. It doesn't define your beauty or your capability. And sometimes when we carry the shame about our hair, we tend to shrink and hide and not want to be seen. But I want you to know it's time to take up space. I have one affirmation for you today. My hair is a living structure, and I'm giving it the solid foundation it needs to thrive. And with that, I will end the video here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed making it, as always. And I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. If you've got any ideas about any other videos I could do whilst we're in our scalp series, then please drop them in the comments below. And thank you guys for all the comments you've been leaving. It's been really encouraging to get back on YouTube and do some more videos. So thank you, and I'll see you soon. Take care.